Now let's move on to the second issue. There are three sub-issues within the wiretap issue. The first one is interspousal. So let's go ahead and type in standard of review and interspousal and wiretap. We're going to apply our filters. So we're only looking at federal cases again. And then we're going to make sure that we're only looking at reported cases. I'm actually going to choose the third result, Hagee v. Hagee. And we can quickly scroll down. Remember, our terms above here show us where our specific things that we're looking for. So we want to go to standard of review. And this one specifically says that this where the construction of federal statute is in question, that an appellate court reviews de novo. So for interspousal and with our specific topic, it's going through here and it's going to tell you that the reviewing authorities for interspousal wiretaps, because it is a question of law and interpreting statute, is going to be reviewed de novo. Now the second two issues become a little bit more tricky. So I'm going to show you some different ways to approach them. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my search term or my search results. Instead of putting in standard of review, I'm actually going to put in review. And then I'm going to put in mixed question within the same paragraph as law, within the same paragraph as fact. And I'm going to include the term wiretap. The last two sub-issues of your appellate brief for wiretap are very tricky. The reason that they're so tricky is because it is a mixed question of law and fact, and so some courts say that they go de novo, and some courts say that they're going to be under abuse of discretion. The other thing that you're going to find, particularly with this particular wiretap issue, is that a lot of times when it's going to be whether or not the wiretap, the cases are reviewed because did they have the authority to create the wiretap, and that's not our issue. The other thing that often happens on appeal, or how it gets up to appeal, is that we have cases that have come up through summary judgment. So we're going to include the term and not summary judgment, because I do not want to see cases that have anything to do with summary judgment. And as you can see, 357 cases still are going to be helpful in going through our topic. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, apply my filters so that I have only federal cases. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm looking at only reported cases. So, one thing I should mention, the and not means that whatever case says the specific term summary judgment, it will completely take out. This is not a great filter for beginning your research, just because you don't know where cases are going to talk about your specific term or the term that you don't want, and are also going to include a discussion of the terms that you do want. But in this particular instance, I know that I do not want to see cases that have to do with standard of review for summary judgment. So again, review, I'm taking out standard of because the courts may not always say standard of. They may just say we're reviewing this case under this particular question. So if you look here, again, I'm going to use my search term map to go through and see where my terms appear, to see where it's talking about mixed question of fact and law and what review they're applying. Again, here's a good case that's going to go through that particular instance and how I apply and the arguments that I would use to apply mixed review of law. So I'm just going to go ahead and select those terms. This case goes through what the review conclusion of de novo and findings of fact for clear error, and that those probable causes are mixed question of law and fact, and they're going to review it de novo. Now, that is one instance. Now we're going to go back and look at another case that goes through mixed question error of law and tells you how to apply that particular instance. So I'm just going to, again, use my search term map to figure out which cases are on point for this particular standard of review. Here we have a particular instance where it goes through all the different types of standard of review, and this is a really good case. So you'll notice here it goes through what is plain error and what is the definition of plain error standard of review and when is that particularly granted. Then we have clearly erroneous, findings of fact. So if you have an issue of finding of fact, what type of review, and the conclusions of law de novo, and again going through and how this particular applies to standard of review and how we apply our particular instances. Again, I'm going to look at where it's a mixed question of law and fact, where that appears here, and I'm going to go through and understand how to apply all of the different types of standard of review, and this case is a really good case that does just that. That wraps up the second portion of finding standard review for your second issue. Please let me know if you have questions. Thank you.